This time I'm riding the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway in England. The line was opened by Whitehaven Mines Limited on the 24th of May 1875, with the purpose of transporting hematite iron ore from the mines around Boot to the main line station at the coastal town of Ravenglass. The locals soon decided that they too should be transported by train, and after careful inspection by the Board of Trade, a passenger service began in November 1876. It would go down in locomotive history as the first public narrow-gauge railway in England. The good times were not to last, and only a year later the train company declared bankruptcy. Upgrading the line for passengers had not been cheap. Over the next decade, the mines began to close, and as the passenger numbers fell, so did the line's upkeep. At Merthwaite Halt in 1905, the track was in such a state of disrepair that it caused a passenger train to derail. The Board of Trade declared the line unsafe, and it closed to the public in 1908. Industrial use remained on the line, but that too was now dwindling, and 5 years later, in April of 1913, the line closed completely. 2 years later, Wenman Joseph Bassett-Loke and Robert Proctor Mitchell took control of the line and converted it from the original 914mm gauge to its present gauge of 381mm. The pair ran their first train on the 28th of August 1915. It took them 2 years to convert the entire line to the new gauge, although I doubt they worked alone. Passengers were then hauled by the 1/3 scale 442 Sans Pareil, built by Bassett-Loke. Again, I assume he had some assistance, at least someone to help with the fiddly bits. The line's use soon increased, and it was not long before granite was hauled between Beckfoot Quarry and Merthwaite. Increased demand led to the track being extended to Dalegarth, making the line 11.3 kilometres long. The Keswick Granite Company purchased the line in 1946, and when quarrying ceased in 1953, the company looked for a buyer. With no immediate takers, the line was auctioned off in September 1960. And so the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway Preservation Society, funded by Sir Waverley Wakefield and Colin Gilbert, was formed. Improvements to the line were soon underway, and by 1964 thousands of tons of granite had been moved to create a 210-metre-long cutting. This gave the trains a much gentler incline and negated unwanted noise. Starting with just 2 locomotives, the 1923 River Esk and the 1927 River Ert, the Society had the River Mitre built in 1967. With increased demand for services, the Society had to build their own locomotives, like this one, the Northern Rock, completed in 1976, just in time for the line's 100-year anniversary. This engine is coal-fired steam power at 50 psi, with a 262 wheel formation and finished in classic muscat green. Around 120,000 people a year now use the service, which runs nearly all year round. It has acquired the pet name L'Elrate, and Alfred Wainwright was said to have much enjoyed travelling the line. Maybe he saw grey lag geese, curlew, shelduck, red squirrels and or buzzards. I know I didn't whilst crossing the 11.3 kilometres of spectacular scenic countryside. The line itself runs west to east, from Ravenglass to Dalegarth station near Boot, and takes about 40 minutes. At each end there is a turntable which doubles as a datum, a way of recording the line's use. The Arlesdale Railway in the Railway series of books authored by the Reverend Wilbert Awdry is based on the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway. The stories in the books were based upon real-life events. Jock the New Engine, for example, was inspired by an incident when Perkins, a yellow 1923 Moor Hill manufactured 4W4 diesel mechanical, crashed into the back of the shed, although in the book the engine is called Frank. Wilbert Awdry and his son Christopher would write 42 books in the Railway series from 1945 to 2011, although most people now simply refer to it all as Thomas the Tank Engine. Next time on the adventures of David Perkins, I shall be walking around Hilltop House in England.